See the back of the ID. This is the ID this guy's showing us that's claiming to be a U.S. Postal Inspector. And the ID in the front say Atlanta, with the name of the Cooper on the front, with this guy's picture. But look at the back of it. Look at the back of that ID. Look at the back of it. It don't say anything. It don't say Atlanta. It don't give you the Atlanta address. It don't say it's from Maryland. It don't say it's from Wyoming, Nebraska, nowhere, right? Detroit, Ohio, Chicago. It don't tell you it's from anywhere. It's just a dummy ID on the back. It's a complete dummy ID. This guy thinks he's so smart, but he didn't even realize that that was captured. He had a ID in his thumb, what you call it, thumb roll or whatever you call it, of the front and the back. Look at the back of it. So we know it don't say Atlanta. We know it don't say Powder Springs. We know it don't say Gaithersburg. It don't say Maryland. It don't say Chicago. It don't say anything. It's just a dummy. Just a dummy. That's the front of it right there. That's the front. That's the back. This was in that guy's thumb tack. Right here of that ID. You see it? It's dead. Dead. I mean, this is a major scheme, man. This is a major scheme. This is the original ID that he was wearing from Maryland. The reason you can't see anything here is because it's been scratched off. Only thing you can see is this guy's face, right? And you know you can see that he's a Caucasian, right? With some hair, thick mustache. But when you look at the actual name or letters or anything, it's a totally blur, right? But the back of the ID said Gaithersburg, Maryland. But you see what he did with that ID, right? The ID was totally blocked out. The back of the ID was totally blocked out. There I go again. Look at it. Do you see anything on there? He didn't even know, right? He thought he was smart. He didn't even know that was being captured at the time. That's what the back looked like. So he had to produce. When that ID is produced, that Atlanta ID that this man ran around his neck, the back had to look just like this right here. I have a photo of the back of the ID. Anything else, it's a fraud, right? Thinking about creating a new ID with something on the back of it, it's a total fraud. Now, what should be on that ID, because you got an Atlanta address, should be an Atlanta, you got Atlanta on the front of the ID. It should be an Atlanta address, wherever you work, wherever your office is located. The back here, the front don't tell you where your office is at, right? The front only say the city you work in. Like, so Atlanta is a city, right? Georgia's the state. Atlanta's the city, right? Powder Springs is the city, right? Again, Georgia's the state, right? With this ID here, let me find. With this ID here, Maryland is the state, right? And Gaithersburg is the city, right? On the back it says he works at Gaithersburg, Maryland. Now the front been scratched off, right? You see, this is what Cobb County have. This is what their body cam should show. This exact same image. This exact same image. Now, on the back of this idea, it said Gaithersburg. It gives you everywhere, all the information. It gives you the office that he works in. So, see, let me tell you something. Let's put Atlanta on the front of this ID. Let me show you how ignorant it is. Now you're saying Atlanta, but on the back it says this is the post office the person work out of in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Gives you the suite number, the phone number, the supervisor number, a supervisor. The supervisor in Gaithersburg, not in Powder Springs. There's no way you can create this scheme, right? You're barking up the wrong tree, right? It have to if the front say Atlanta, you have to have that's why you see that ID, right? It don't say anything. It's just it's a card in the back. They don't want to say anything, right? But he didn't know that when he allowed us to take photos of it, but he didn't know that. You see how this is right here? You see them thumb rolls right there? You see that? You see that? You see all this right here? You see all that right there? So that's the thing. That's the negative thing about iPhones. That's why when you see me doing a dead shot like that, I'm blocking stuff that I want other people to see. Right? So if you ain't paying attention to it, right? You ain't paying attention to what's going on, right? Someone would do that right there. You know, they be getting a shot of everything, right? You don't even realize it, right? And so you got this photo and the back of it right next to each other. And what's on the back is dead. You have to produce, because I got the photo, you have to produce that idea around here that you're showing me, that you're saying that you claim is him. And guess what? It's expired. Think about it. It says when he came to us, when the man who claimed to be a postal inspector came to us, the ID had already expired. Why do you think it's expired? Because he's not real. He could never get a valid ID because he's not a postal employee. That's why. So you see, there's no way around this. The back is it's a dummy. It don't say it's from nowhere. Even though the front said Atlanta, but the back don't say anything. But you see, I got an image of the back. So that means you got to produce the back that look like this. Anything else, it's going to be a different ID. You're going to be producing a different ID. And how are you getting all these IDs from the post office? How are you getting them? You see? Do you understand? Do you understand the scheme? How it's not going, how it can't work. How it can't work. Right? It can't work. It can't work. So he got an ID. This man is showing me okay, think about it. The man he's pretending to be a postal inspector, right? But he's not. The man is not a postal inspector, okay? He's been identified by Cobb County Police as someone wearing an ID. He's a white male. He's wearing an ID of an Hispanic person, okay? So that's on body cam. That's in the record. That's secure, right? So you got to think to yourself, but he's trying to convince me this guy works at the Powder Springs Post Office. And this guy is trying to convince me that he works in the Powder Springs Post Office. And he's riding around delivering mail in Powder Springs. Okay? And he's claiming his supervisor's in Powder Springs. And his postmaster's in Powder Springs. All his co-workers in Powder Springs. And he's been working 30 years in Powder Springs. Okay? But now, Think about it now. He go a con artist coming to you pretending this man done went all the way out. He done went out on a limb to pretend to be a U.S. Postal Inspector. And you think he wouldn't have created a? Why is it that he didn't create an ID that say Powder Springs? They said Atlanta. Well, I'm pretty sure if you go out and look in Atlanta, there's another employee that came by that had an Atlanta ID. We looked him up. Guess how we found him? We looked through the Atlanta database. We said, well, let's see if he probably maybe because we don't understand why he over here working this, maybe the guy is have started, maybe he's working now at the maybe he don't work in Atlanta anymore, is why he here. And he's probably working now in Powder Springs. We looked in Powder Springs, guess what? His name never came up. You know why? Because he don't work in Powder Springs. He actually works in Atlanta, right? You understand? So that's the only way you can look a person up, truly look them up, and find out who they are. It's by, I'm scanning through some stuff. I'm sorry. Like I just showed you. If you're not careful with these phones, stuff that you don't want no one to see will be on it. So that's why I have to kind of go dead like this. But I'm looking for something. Trying to show you something. Show you guys something right here from Cobb County Police. A word of advice. I'm sorry, it's taking a little while to get there. This phone is slow. Oh man, it's spinning. It's spinning. But yeah, I'm just trying. I want you to hear what the officer said about that. Just that very thing I was just talking about. Again, the guy didn't realize that I actually had the back of the ID, right? He can't. When you're running the scheme, man. What they say, there's no such thing as a perfect crime, right? When you run the scheme, you're just running and you're trying to get out of there. You ain't paying attention to what's going on, right? You believe you observing the whole scene, but in reality, and this is the guy in this subdivision. This is where my wife went in. She left to go get coffee, and on her way back, she said, "I'm gonna go in here." This was a subdivision at the time. They was just finishing it up, wrapping it up. They had some homes, like I guess, open for you can come in and look at them or whatever. And she just said, I'm gonna go by and look at the homes, right? So this guy, at this point, we think this guy's long gone. She just happened to go in the subdivision, and guess what? This is the photo she took. She got in the subdivision, and this truck is there, 431-7375. And that's when she called me and said, "Hey, what should I do?" Now, this is Officer Thompson explaining to you. Now, he's telling you about just how you can't be on one side of the town, say in Atlanta, and be delivering mail in Powder Springs. Listen to him. This is a Cobb County officer. Come on.
Of all employees that work in any store or any business, but the businesses do. So I recommend to you, we're going to do a report. I'm just giving recommendations now. Whether you want to do it or not, that's up to you. Go down to the post office because he can only work in one area. He can't work at a post office that's in Atlanta and come all the way out here. Everybody has a hub. Powder Springs. So I will go to the Powder Springs, I have to speak to the manager and say, who's the mail carrier for the service? Okay, so we will, sir.
See, he explained. You can't be working in Atlanta and be then out here in Powder Springs. everyone have a hub. You know for sure that it was a major red flag when this man told the Cobb County police officer, my postal ID is from Maryland. So man, we know now it can't be it can't be from another state now. You can't have a Maryland ID with an Atlanta name on it. If you do, think about it. If the Cobb County police did see something like that, they know they observing fraud. That's like me saying, I got a Georgia driver's license. On the back, it says it's from Georgia, and then on the front, I done switched it over, and it's from Milwaukee. You know good and well that's bogus. If the front say Maryland, the back got to say Maryland. If the back say Maryland, the front got to say Maryland. If the front say Georgia, the back has to say Georgia. There's no way around it. But listen, on the front of the ID, the only thing it does is give you the person name and tell you this is what class of, if they're a mail carrier or they're a manager, supervisor, whatever, right? But the back tells you this is the office they work in, this is their phone number. Because he's supposed to be a mail carrier, this is his insurance coverage. This is the number to call to check his coverage. If he's in an accident, say this guy something happened and he's unconscious. He got an idea around his neck. You can call yourself. You can call his supervisor. You can say, well, let me see this number here. Let me call his supervisor. But you're gonna be calling in Maryland. You're not gonna be. When that number that you call, it's going to be in Maryland. It's not going to be in Powder Springs. You understand? You understand? This is a dead scheme. Let's listen to Officer Thompson one more time. Listen to what he said. You can't even, let alone you can't come from Atlanta to Powder Springs, somebody you can't have an ID. The man done presented to us an ID from Atlanta. So you already know he's in trouble, right? But he's telling you, the police officer, he's admitting, I have an ID on from Maryland, and it's actually from Gaithersburg, Maryland. That's the city. The city is Gaithersburg. So the front of his ID should be Gaithersburg as well, Maryland. That's where they say he work at. His supervisor ain't got nothing to do with no Powder Springs supervisor or postmaster. Listen to Mr. Gillespie. Officer Thompson once again.
Of all employees that work in any store or any business, but the businesses do. So I recommend to you, we're going to do a report. I'm just giving recommendations now. Whether you want to do it or not, that's up to you. Go down to the post office because he can only work in one area. He can't work at a post office that's in Atlanta and come all the way out here. Everybody has a hub. So I will go to the Powder Springs, I have to speak to the manager and say, who's the mail carrier for the service? Okay, so we will, sir.
And come on, that's common sense, right? So again, you see, this guy's totally a phony. What he needed to produce, it's too late. What he had to produce was an ID that say, where he's told the officer he works at, out of Powder Springs. He needed to produce an ID that say Powder Springs, and not an ID. Now this man is bringing us an ID that say Atlanta with nothing, no information on the back, no information on the back at all, zero information. You see, right? You see, it's a total scheme. So, what's the chances of a con artist bringing you something valid? He's a con. He run the con game. So and the man he's trying to convince you of is running the con game too. He got shabby ID all over the place. These guys are looking at 100 years, man. These guys are looking at 100 years. Please, if you know anything, go to the authorities.